A beautiful good morning to one and all. Um, Today we are going to read the book When Calls the Heart by Janette. Okay, we are reading from last 11 chapters, and this is the 12th chapter. So, if anyone of you haven't subscribed the channel, please consider subscribing before you continue watching. So, it'll be interesting. It's becoming interesting, the story. And if you want to hear the story without the video, much better, while you can do any other chores, um, you can go up to Spotify. We'll be uploading these videos in Spotify very soon. So the chapter is chapter 12, Trip to Town. Alright, let's start. The next morning, before I had even finished my breakfast, a team and wagon turned into my lane. The driver approached my house and knocked on the door, hat in hand. He introduced himself as Mr. Laverly. Lars, my special helper, had already ridden over on horseback to his farm that morning and informed him that I needed my trunks. Sorry, ma'am, the man apologized. Wanted to be over to greet you yesterday right off, but my wagon busted a wheel and it took night all day to fix it. 'Cause I had no idea that you was without your belongings, or I'd have borrowed an outfit from a neighbor and been right over. His round face mirrored his sincere apology. I sure feel terrible that your things didn't get here at the same time that you did. He hurried on, wiping his hands and face with a bright square from a red pocket. I was hoping to spare you a trip by wagon over those long dusty roads. I'd be happy to just go on in and pick up your things for you, and you can just wait here. Oh, I love to go along, Mr. Lovely, I interjected quickly. The weather is lovely and the trees are so beautiful. I am sure that the trip to town will be an enjoyable one in spite of the dust. He relaxed some, even smiled. Would he care for a cup of coffee while I get my hat? I asked, and he noted that he would. I motioned him toward one of the green chairs and poured coffee into the cup with a few rest chips, then cleared the table. When I had things tidied, I went to the bedroom. I wished that I had another dress. The one that I'd been wearing when I arrived hung, dejected and torn, from a peg in my bedroom. I had no saving supplies with me to repair it. The dress that I now wore was only one other I had with me. Besides appearing somewhat wrinkled and soiled, it was not the gown that I would have chosen to wear on my first day in a new town and did not go well with my hat. Looking in some dismay at my reflection in the small cracked mirror, I placed my hat on carefully and pinned it in place. I smoothed out my skirt the best I could and picked up my handbag. Then went to inform Mr. Laverly that I was ready when he was. He drained the last of the coffee from the cup and rose to go. Mr. Laverly was not an eloquent man, I discovered, yet he did tell me of the parents' desire to provide education for the children of Pine Springs. I admired these people for working so hard and longed to get someone who would teach, and I felt honored to be that someone. At Lacombe, Mr. Laverly dropped me off at the general store and went on to the train station to collect my trunks. I did not dally. Sorry, it is not daily, it is daily. I did not dally, but set to work filling my long shopping list as quickly as I could. There seemed to be so many things that I needed, but I held myself in check and purchased only essentials with the exception of an extravagance. I had determined that I would drink my tea like a lady even in a log house, so I purchased a teapot and 2 cups and saucers of fine china. I felt somehow Mama's mind would be much more at ease about me if she knew that I was having my tea in the proper fashion. After all, civilization could not be too far away from Pine Springs if I had such amenities. I had now finished my shopping when Mr. Laverly returned. He kindly assured me that I needn't rush. He suggested that we meet at 1 o'clock, and perhaps I would like to get myself some lunch at the hotel before we started our long journey back. I agreed, and he went off on some business of his own. I finally rounded up all the items that I needed in order to keep house. I then bought a further supply of staple groceries and set out for the hotel. While waiting for my meal to arrive, I wrote a short letter to my family and also a note to John and his family. I assured them that I would write more letters, but I didn't want them to know that I had arrived safely and was very pleased and excited about my living arrangements and my school. I omitted telling Mama just exactly where my school was. She had sent me west to Janette and expected me to stay within the shelter of his protection. I shuddered to think how she would feel if she knew that I was about 150 long, slow miles away from him. My food arrived, and I placed my brief notes in the addressed envelopes. The waitress said I could post them right there at the hotel. Mr. Lavely, true to his word, appeared at 1 o'clock. We returned to the store, and he and the clerk loaded my purchases as I looked longingly at the inviting little town, wishing that I had time to explore it. But Mr. Lavely was now in a hurry to be on his way. The September afternoon sun rode hot and high in the sky. The horses sauntered along, and the wagon bumped and jostled. With each smile, I came to realize more why Mr. Lovely had been concerned about saving me this trip. My excitement at the loveliness of the weather and the scenery had gotten me to town without too much discomfort, but I began to feel that the trip home would never end. By the time we arrived at the teacher age, I was hot, tired, dirty, and sore. Nothing would interest me more than a long soak in a hot tub. And then I remember I had no such thing except for the round metal washtub I had just purchased that day for my laundry. Well, it would have to do. Mr. Lavely unloaded all of my belongings. The trunk were heavy for one person, and I insisted upon giving him a hand. It was a difficult task to get all things from the wagon into the teacherage, and my help, though freely offered, was barely adequate. When finally everything was in my house and Mr. Lavely had graciously refused my offer of a cup of tea, I remembered to ask him about the schoolhouse door. He had the nails out in a jiffy, and then his wagon rumbled out of the yard. Gone were the thoughts of a bath in my excitement at getting settled. With a feverish eagerness, I attacked the trunks and the purchases and began to make myself a home in the wilderness. Dusk was approaching, and I still had not stopped for breath. I was very dusty and hungry, and if I didn't stop, I would be exhausted. Though tired, I gazed around me with pleasure. It did look and feel much more like home now, but darkness would come soon, and if I wanted a bath, I needed to hold the water for it. I placed my new boiler on the stove and poured the water from the pail into it. Then I ran for more water, pumping in near panic. If the coyotes were to begin their howling right now, I wasn't sure that I, as yet, would be strong enough to face them alone. Fortunately, I was just entering the house with my second pail of water when the first howl broke over me. I really don't need more water anyway, I assured myself and fastened the door behind me. I started the fire in the stove beneath the boiler and also made my room on the stovetop to put on the kettle for tea. I fixed a simple meal which I practically wolfed down in my hunger, and then I drank my tea slowly from my new teacup, staring at the other teacup as I drank. Would there ever be a second person in my little teacher to share my tea time? Suddenly a wave of loneliness overtook me. I was happy there. I was happy here, but I was alone. I longed for Julie and then realized that even she would not probably fill the void I was feeling. Julie would be bubbly and chatty and light. I needed someone with serenity, strength, purposefulness to share my thoughts and my days. Someone like, and I involuntarily began to review the men that I had known. Each face that appeared in my mind I was readily dismissed. Suddenly, without warning, I saw again the face of John's friend. The intense eyes, the slight smile, and the strength of character that was evident was attractive and yet made me still uneasy. In spite of the fact that no another soul was anywhere near, I found myself blushing in embarrassment at my foolishness, changing my thoughts to safer things. I stood quickly, teacup in hand, and proceeded to add wood to the fire. Oh, how I was anticipating that hot bath! While I waited for the water to heat, I carried my small washtub to my bedroom and placed it on the rug. Then I began the slow procedure of dipping and transporting the warm water to fill it. By the time I had finally finished my preparation, the water had cooled considerably. Next time, I informed myself I must begin with the water on the hot side. I stepped into the small tub and experimented with ways to curl myself into it. Why didn't I buy the larger one? I chided myself. I twisted and turned and curled and uncurled, but there was no way that I could get all of me into the tub at one time. Finally, I hung my legs out over the edge in hopes of getting the warm water onto the aching parts of my body. It wasn't very satisfactory, still sore from the wagon's jostling. I finally gave up the effort. Drying myself thoroughly, I slipped into my warmest nightgown and snuggled under the kids. I would empty the tub of water in the morning. Safe in bed, I listened to an occasional coyote howl. It didn't sound so spine-chilling now. In fact, I imagined that with a little time, a person might even be able to get used to it. And the 12th chapter comes to an end. Chapter 13 is Saturday. We'll be reading it next tomorrow, or the video which is coming the next day. So please like and share to everyone who will be finding helpful, who is a bit lazy to read, who likes to listen stories, and we'll be doing more videos these days. So thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't done yet. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.